Hello, I'm Charmaine Bryan, author of the book Stop Buying Clothes You Don't Wear and founder of Charmaine Bryan Image Consulting. I help professionals and entrepreneurs to elevate their professional image through one-on-one coaching and training to enhance their appearance, behavior, and communication skills. Well, thank you if you're joining me live today, or if you're catching the replay, do say hello, drop a like, and I definitely want to engage with you. So today's topic will be diving into how to look good on camera and how to present yourself the best way forward. And I chose this topic today because, well, I'm coming to you from a live stream. Let's face it, nowadays everyone is on video, on camera, whether it's for social media, on Facebook Live, Instagram Live, YouTube Live. It could be that you've got to do a teleconference for work or video conferencing. You could be invited on a media outlet. So there's all sorts of different ways that you could be on video, or even if you're a speaker at an event and it's being videoed. So many ways that we are being videotaped and on camera nowadays, and it's really about putting your best foot forward so that you can enjoy the experience and not be worrying about how you're looking, and just focusing on what you're actually doing, the speaking, focusing on the other person. So let's dive in. Okay. So the first point I want to say is when you do know that you're going to be on camera, on video, is to do your research. When you're invited to speak on a TV show, or you're going to be recording videos, or even you've got video conferencing, find out what the environment is like. Is the room going to be bright? How dark is it? Make sure that any colors that you're wearing on the day are not going to be clashing with the backdrop, because there's nothing worse that you turn up in a dark suit and the backdrop is dark and then you're just blending in, especially if you're speaking to them live at an event and they're looking at you on a screen. You don't want it to be that all of a sudden you're just blending in and all they're seeing is a talking head. So you really want to make sure that you know what that backdrop is like, so that the colors that you're wearing complement the backdrop rather than you blending into the backdrop. And find out where you'll be sitting. Will you be sitting? Will you be standing? Would like me, will just the top half of your body be shown? Will your full body be shown? Really do your due diligence to find out about these things, because that way at least then you know what to expect when you get there. So if you plan to wear a specific outfit, or you wanted to make sure that you were going to be on camera, full length, full body length, just make sure that you are comfortable in how you're presenting yourself. So this way, if you do your research, you know exactly what to expect when you get there, so you have no surprises. Hi, Heather. Thanks for joining today. So number 2, the next thing you really want to be doing is getting ready for video. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you're giving a presentation in front of a large audience, it's making sure that you are wearing the right clothes. I talked about not blending into the backdrop, but it's also about any colors that you're wearing, that you are presenting yourself in a way that your posture is looking great. Oh, thanks for being here, Heather. I'm so glad that you tuned in. Yeah, that your posture is looking good. You want to make sure that you're positioning yourself on camera in the best possible way and from the best possible angle. So it's always great to get there early so that you can see what the setup is, so you know exactly what to expect before the camera or the video starts rolling. Practice good posture. So sit up straight. You can lean in a little bit, but not too much that it's obvious that you're leaning in. Make sure that when you are speaking, you're breathing normally so that it doesn't feel like you're catching your breath when you're speaking. So whether you're speaking point to camera as I am to you, or if you're being interviewed, I mean, ensure that you're facing the interviewer so that you're having that rapport, and that whoever's watching you on screen, they're getting that idea that you're comfortable in what you're doing. Also, another thing is, when you are sitting there, ensure that you are feeling comfortable in a way that the way your feet are placed. So try, and if you don't cross your legs at the knee, cross them at the ankles, because you'll feel more comfortable. Again, though, it depends obviously where you're sitting. It could be that if you're sitting on stools, that's a little bit different than if you're sitting lower down, nearer to the floor. And when your interview is over, or the recording is over, get a copy, if you can, get a copy of the video, because it's always good to actually have a look at how you look on camera. And I know that can be pretty scary because we're our own worst critic. I know I am. But I always say that when you should just think of it as a evaluation tool, and it can help you get better, so that when you are on camera next time, or you're doing some video recording, you know what you don't particularly like, and you know that you can do it better next time, versus if you don't look at the video footage, you don't know where you're going wrong, and you want to make sure that you're presenting yourself the best way you can. I mean, of course, the best thing is get on camera. Getting on camera is better than not doing it at all. And as I said, it can be scary. I mean, and doing things like these lives can be scary, but once you start doing them, you find that they start to become easier, and you become more comfortable once you're doing them. Color is key when you're on camera. Especially if you're being interviewed on a TV show, the cameras are really bright, they're hot, and the colors that you are wearing can make such a huge difference, because it can make a difference between the color that you're wearing overshadowing you versus something that you're wearing that complements you and your face stands out. And you want your face to stand out because you're the one who will be speaking on camera, and you don't want your viewers to really be distracted by the colors that you're wearing. So a tip would be to go with colors that are in the middle of the spectrum. So don't go for anything too harsh, and too harsh meaning very mixed colors such as red and black and white. And I'm not saying that you can't wear those colors, but don't wear those colors together, for example. They can look really harsh on camera. So instead, a really good color to wear in the medium of the spectrum is blue, because blue is great because it can, depending on the shade of blue, of course, but I would go for the darker shade of blue, so a navy blue or a midnight blue, depending on your coloring. And that usually looks nicer on camera. So if you can wear a blue suit and then a lighter blouse or shirt underneath it, that looks really good when it's being recorded on camera or on video. Versus if there's, as I said, if there's something like red looks great and you look powerful, but red can be overpowering on you. Other colors you could be thinking about, green is a really nice color to wear. Again, if you think about darker greens, And it's not to say you can't wear brighter colors on camera, you can, but it just really, you really got to think about what your background is and making sure that the brighter color isn't dominating your skin tone and that it's the color that stands out versus you, and it's you're the one who's presenting, so you want the audience to be engaged in you and not distracted by colors. Being camera ready. You want to make sure that when you do get on camera, that you feel confident in terms of whether you're being filmed full body or half body or point to camera or from different side angles, because it's amazing where, you know, when you take a photo, for example, you may say, "I'll take my good side," and it's the same on camera. And camera is a multitude. It shows a lot more things than, say, if you're doing a point shoot, if you're taking a photograph. So it's making sure that you are comfortable on camera. So being camera ready means the clothing that you're wearing, don't wear anything that's too tight or too loose. And I say that because if something's too tight, it adds weight to you. And as we know, we hear the saying that the camera can add 10 pounds to you. And if you're wearing tight clothing on camera, it can add even more weight to you. But equally, don't wear anything that's too loose, because again, that can add weight to you as well. So it's really finding that happy medium, that you're wearing something that just skims over your body silhouette, that's slightly loose. So it gives you some leeway that when you are sitting down, that if your skirt, you don't want anything like your skirt to rise up, or pants that you're wearing, or a blouse being too tight. You want to make sure that when you are sitting down, it looks comfortable from every angle. And I advise, if you are going on camera, if possible, try to wear some long sleeves. I mean, but bare arms are okay, but you can find that they can be a little bit distracting. So if you could wear some longer sleeves, even if they're 3/4 long length sleeves, it means that when your arms tend to look slimmer and elongated, and it just looks a little bit more professional, especially when you're being interviewed on TV. Also, another thing is your neckline. Make sure that it matches the shape of your face. So for example, if you can see on me, I'm wearing a scoop neckline, so this is matching. You can see it's matching the bottom of my chin and even the side of my face. So I've got a more of a curved, rounder face, but if you've got more of an angular, straight face, you could go for something like a straight V-neck, for example, or maybe even a square neckline. It's just really ensuring that your neckline matches your face, so it just gives you that enhanced feature when you're on camera. I tend to find it does look nicer to look at you as a person. And again, it's not distracting, that it's not competing with you speaking versus someone, say, looking at your neckline for a long time. Also, another thing, if you like to gesture a lot, really be careful when you're gesturing, because if you're moving all over the place, that can be really distracting. So it's really being careful about what you do with your hands. I mean, of course, some people, hi Nina, thanks for joining. Some people, they're really, they love using gestures. And I'm not saying don't do it, of course, but just be really careful about using gestures, especially if you're on something like a Facebook Live like this, because when you're speaking and presenting, you think it looks okay, but if it's too much, that person in the audience who's watching you online, it can distort the picture. and you want to make sure that they're getting the best experience. So really bear in mind when you're moving about, and try and keep as still as possible if you can when you are on screen, especially when you're on live streams. I think you can get away with it a little bit if, say, you're on camera, if you're interviewing on TV, but when you're on live streams like a Facebook Live, or you're on Instagram Live or YouTube Live, it's not as forgiving as, say, a professional camera that you could be using in a studio audience. And even, say, for example, for if you're doing a video conference with your team as well. And these days a lot of people do interviews via Skype, and you don't want the interview thinking that you're fidgeting a lot while you're on screen. So it's really thinking about how you look. I mean, and even before you even start, before you go live, before you speak on Skype, turn the video cam on and practice speaking just to see what you look like. So at least then you've got an idea, because you may think that you're not moving around a lot, but in reality, sometimes you can be. And another thing with clothing, don't be afraid to wear accessories. I mean, I'm not wearing many accessories today. I have this, but it's really nice. It's something that can really vamp up your look when you're on camera, but don't make the accessories overpower you, so don't wear anything too dangly, too sparkly, because when the camera lights are on, those accessories, they can overpower your face, and again, the person who's watching you is then focusing on your accessories. You just want to wear something that they're noticeable. But so say for something like a pearls or a plain necklace or a plain bracelet. And for men, wearing a watch that isn't too fancy, or wearing cufflinks, or wearing some ties that are not too over the top and too bright, that are competing with your face. Because you want whoever's watching to be focusing on you and listening to you, not on that huge watch, for example, that you could possibly be wearing. And for men, another thing that you can be thinking about is not wearing a lot of bold, say for example, if you're wearing a tie or a shirt, think about more plain colors, because you want to be staying away from a lot of checkered stuff or too bold pinstripes, because again, some of these things can be a little bit too fussy on when you're on camera. And again, as I said, you really want them to be focusing on you and not, oh, that person's wearing something really outrageous. I mean, of course, if that's your personality, you could probably do it in a small, maybe in a small part of what you're wearing, but just don't go absolutely crazy. Think plainer clothes, and something, or if you do decide that you want to wear something that's a little bit, like I'm wearing a bit of a pattern today, but I wouldn't go any crazier than this. And also another thing is to think about when you are, say, for example, on video conferencing. I talked about the live stream. When you're on video conferencing, you can get a lot of disturbances and you can get delays. I mean, and even I guess on Facebook Live, you can sometimes get delays when you're speaking on camera, when you're going live, and you may say something, but then it could take maybe a second or two for the person to respond. So it's really keeping that in mind and just making sure that you are just listening out for the other person when you are going live, to make sure that the two-way conversation is happening there, especially if, for example, you're on a Skype interview, or say you're on Zoom, when you're on a webinar and you want to get feedback from who you're speaking to, or even now on a live. I mean, what do you think when Heather and Nina, when you go live, do you find that sometimes you may get the delay and you feel like you may be speaking to yourself because no one's responded yet. Do let me know. If you're watching a replay, do let me know your experiences. Another thing when you are going on video, and especially if you are going to be on TV, this is key, is to think about being prepared for emergencies. Suppose you turn up, I talked about turning up and you're wearing a dark suit and the backdrop that you're going to be speaking against or being interviewed against is a dark backdrop. Bring an alternative pair of clothing with you just so that you've got something else to change into. Or if something goes wrong, a wardrobe malfunction, you may discover that there's a hole in the top that's glaringly obvious. So you may need to quickly stitch that up when you're on camera. It's amazing what can happen, or making sure that you may find that your hair, it may have rained or the wind on the way to the studio or the location, and then you've got to fix your hair. So have some hair products with you, or it may be makeup, because sometimes, especially, you may arrive and if you say, for example, are doing a TV interview, it could be that they may not have makeup for you, and if you don't have your own, you don't want to have that problem of like I do, the shiny spot. So I make sure I've always got powder with me constantly whenever I'm going on camera, because I always get those T-zone shiny spots. So, I want to make sure that I've got the powder that I can just freshen up. So it's really just having that little emergency kit with you so that when you are there, you don't need to panic and think, oh no, you can go out and enjoy what you're doing on camera. When you've got these contingencies, then you can just be thinking about what you're going to say and enjoy the experience, rather than, oh no, my pantyhose has run, or there's a hole in my tie. It's just making sure that you are feeling the most comfortable when you're on camera. And also another thing is, get there early so that you can speak to if you're on, say, if you're on TV and you're being interviewed, to get an idea about what the expectations are. Because even if you've had a conversation before, something could have come up on that day and something could change. So it's always great to get there early so that if there adjustments need to be made, you're prepared. So lastly, I want to say is, enjoy being on camera. It is a different experience, and it's something that you work on. I mean, it's not, everyone doesn't always feel comfortable on camera to begin with. It is a learning curve, but you do get better at it. And the more that you watch yourself on camera and look at the feedback and think about how you sound on camera, how you look, that you're sitting up straight, that your posture, that you're engaged on camera, the better that you will get at it. And really, as I said, think about what you're wearing on camera. Be prepared, know what the environment's going to be like on the day. If you're being interviewed, find out what the expectation of the interviewer is. If you are recording your own videos and you've got a videographer, or even if you're going live on Facebook or on your webinars, making sure that you test your equipment before you go live. It's not the end of the world if something does go wrong. But of course, you want to try and mitigate against as much as you can do. And when you do prepare, the saying, if you don't prepare, you prepare to fail. So we don't want you to fail when you're on camera. We want you to enjoy being on camera. So I hope that you found that useful today and that you've gotten some ideas of really how to present yourself best on camera. I mean, it's something that's always, obviously, as I said, it's a work in progress. You can always, the great thing about camera is that because it is recorded, it's an instant feedback mechanism. And as I said, try to not be critical. I mean, be critical to improve, but just don't be too much of a judge and give yourself a hard time. The very fact that you are putting yourself out there and getting on camera is great. So thank you for tuning in this week. If you want to find out some more tips on how to look great and dress just for your particular body type and what to wear when you're on camera, you can download a free copy of a chapter of my book. You can find that at charmainebryan.com/free chapter, and where you'll get some detailed information on what to wear and how to dress for your body type. And of course that can be for being on camera and in real life. And thank you again for tuning in today. And I will see you next week at same time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you are watching the replay of this, do comment below and let me know what you think. And I will, of course, come back to you and answer any comments or questions that you may have. And thanks again, and see you next week.